coming to you right here in Malta for AIBC Europe. I'm with Wesley Ellul, a special envoy for startup funding and innovation from the government of Malta. Wesley, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Jenny. And it's for a long time, I've worked actually alongside AIBC, and I was actually in your place doing all the interviews.
Oh, wow. That's a pressure.
No, but it's a nice joy to be on the side of not having to ask the questions and not making sure I don't mess up.
Good to know. But yeah, Wesley, I'm very happy to meet you. I've actually interviewed people and talked about how the government of Malta has been helping them in terms of, them as startups, and really focusing on AI and all that stuff. Can you tell us more about the projects from the government supporting startups?
So what's happening right now is there are a number of different initiatives that will help startups with grants, especially which are related to employment and number of people. As long as they have a business plan which requires growth, they can go through the Malta Enterprise chapter, and there's grants of up to 200,000 if they're in an early stage, and scale-up grants. Beyond that, the Malta government also has a new venture fund, which is depending on your exact focus as a business, they can actually co-invest alongside other investors you bring in up to 500,000 euros. So there's money to help. But then it all depends on what space you're in. If you're in the blockchain space, for example, there's a number of other benefits which help the startups here in Malta, which is one of them is actually 0% capital gains on crypto holdings. So let's just say you are going to be issuing a token as your fundraising mechanism. Let's say post-January 1st, 2025. Well, now that Malta is part of the whole MiCA regulation, we actually have utility projects which can launch in Malta, and they can actually issue their token, their value can go up, and they don't have to be worrying about the taxation position because Malta treats crypto as Forex, and that means there's going to be zero tax on that. So that can be very beneficial, whereas other states have 39 and up to 42% taxation on capital gains. So if you're launching a product, which let's say at day one is 1 cent, but then goes up to 10 cents, and you're holding a lot of that and you have to sell some of it just to fund your operation, what happens is you have to pay the percentage of capital gains that you have on that holding. And in Malta, you don't have that scenario.
Okay, very, very interesting. Now, before we get into the details of, getting into the funding and stuff, Wesley, I want to ask, how big is the startup ecosystem here in Malta?
So the startup ecosystem is actually quite big, especially in the gaming space. In traditional, it's a little bit smaller. In fact, the government right now is working on what they call the startup framework. And this is a framework both for startups as well as investors to understand what benefits lie in Malta. Now, they haven't announced all the details of this, so this is something that we're still waiting to realize. Hopefully, I'm hearing rumors by March 2025 it'll be out in the scenario. But what I do know is when startups do come to Malta, they find a lot of interesting opportunities because of our gaming ecosystem and our blockchain ecosystem. And basically, we have a really good lifestyle here in Malta. 300 days of sunshine, except for yesterday. And it's a great lifestyle and a great base, especially if you're doing some international business.
All right, now, Wesley, we have, startups watching right now, founders. What do they need to know if they want to go here in Malta and start their business here?
Okay, let me start with a number of the benefits. First of all, everyone speaks English.
Yeah.
Now, English is the international language of tech.
Yes.
So that's the first and foremost thing. Secondly, especially if you have a consumer-based product, the actual local environment, when you actually have the people who can use the product, you can use Malta as a beautiful test market. I myself am a startup founder like 17 times over. And I've always used Malta as my base to test out the product, trial it, find all the bugs, and just tweak it to that extent where I can go into an international market. So that's one great thing they can find. They can find a lot of great tech talent. The gambling space has a lot of great people, and what's really great is you can actually bring them into your ecosystem because after a while, a lot of developers want to do something different than rather create another RNG game or something like that. So there's a lot of great people you can meet. Plus, there is a lot of people with big vision. And because Malta is sort of like a meeting place of Europe and North Africa and the Middle East, it's very interesting in what direction your startup could go. So you never know what to expect, but it is a great place to be in general because every day is usually something new.
Okay, what do you say, in your opinion, are the challenges that the ecosystem, I mean, the startup ecosystem is facing in general, not just in Malta, but maybe also in Malta?
So right now, the startup ecosystem in Malta, the one thing it's possibly facing would be access to funds. So while Malta does help, there currently is not a very strong VC investor scheme, although there is a lot of initiatives by the government and by private entity to help encourage tech investment in this space. So if you're just coming looking for money, I wouldn't say Malta is the best place to start. But if you've already started fundraising and you're looking to scale down your costs, Malta is a great place to actually be compared to a number of European states where things can cost a little bit more, especially from a talent point of view, also a day-to-day living point of view. The sort of the office spaces here are in a right median, so it's very healthy for a very lean startup to sort of find their traction and find their base and do what they need to do. Other drawbacks right now. Well, there's a little bit of indecision in the world. Luckily, we've had a U.S. election that has passed now, and we know the direction it's going. And that's bringing some more stability into the market. So more people are going to be willing to deploy capital. My actual role with the government is to help bring VC funding from the North America into Malta. So I do a lot of trips to North America to introduce them to Malta and then actually bring them down to the island just to have them understand what's happening. And what's great is a number of them are actually looking at setting up offices here after having experienced it.
Oh, that's great to know. That's great to know. Now, Wesley, I want to ask you, we're November now and it's coming, the new year's coming, 2025. What's your outlook for the coming new year and anything else that you want to tell, startup founders watching us right now?
Okay. Number one, there's a lot of emerging tech narratives. So AI.
Definitely.
Blockchain. Remember, it's great to sell tech to investors, but you can't sell tech to users. So if you're looking at bringing on users, you have to have amazing UI, user interface. You have to give them values, which they're going to want to do. If I have a great AI platform that can do everything, but it's very hard to use, that's not the ideal thing. Also, create a very strong narrative for your brand. Understand what the story of your brand is and what problem it's going to solve. And look for great people. This is just general. This is not Outlook stuff.
That's
Outlook stuff. If you are in the blockchain space, you're going to have a very good year of fundraising. It's starting now. We're in the beginning of the bull cycle. So if you're going to be there, but if you're just a general startup founder, I would say just start working on your idea.
Yeah.
Do something about it. Don't expect to raise anything just based on a pure idea. Have something to show for it, a small product, but also have a message that really resonates with people and solve a problem that is real, a real problem. Don't invent a problem to solve, but really just find a real good problem.
Really, really great advice, Wesley. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Jenny. It's been a pleasure.